The Interstellar Academy rose like a jagged monument against the dawn, its black-plated walls catching the early sunlight and turning it into a shimmering gold outline. Cadets from dozens of star systems gathered at the entrance gate, their voices blending into one chaotic buzz. Some compared the shine of their new armor plates, others flexed their neural implants to show off reaction speed, while a few simply stood and stared, humbled by the size of the place. None of them expected the entire courtyard to fall silent because of one girl. Someone pointed her out first. Who's that? Heads turned, conversations halted. A narrow path opened in the crowd as she approached, a quiet human-like girl wearing plain traveler's clothes. No armor, no equipment, no emblem. Only a small civilian identification badge glinted at the side of her collar. A group of second-year cadets near the scanner arch immediately burst into laughter at the sight. Is she serious? That's not a uniform. That's something you wear to a market. She doesn't even have an augmentation port. The girl didn't glance at them. She didn't slow her walk. She didn't show a flicker of embarrassment. She simply continued forward with a calm, focused expression. When she stepped under the scanner arch, the biometric system activated with a sharp chime. A beam swept over her body from head to toe, analyzing DNA strands, neural patterns, genetic code, everything the Galactic Federation used to classify a being. Cadets leaned toward each other, waiting for the predictable green glow that signaled acceptance. Instead, the scanner lights detonated into a piercing red. A harsh alarm screamed so loudly that several cadets flinched. The system's voice boomed over the courtyard, amplified across the entire entrance plaza. Classification identified. Earthborn. Protocol 7 activated. Do not engage. All laughter died instantly. The girl stood in the middle of the arch as a crimson hologram circled her feet. Above her head, massive warning letters appeared in the air. Earthborn, unknown threat index. Engagement prohibited. Silence smothered the crowd. Someone whispered, Earthborn? That can't be real. Another cadet backed away slowly. I thought Earth was sealed. A third swallowed hard. Why would one come here? The second years who mocked her now stared with pale faces, their earlier confidence evaporating. One of them muttered, Did we just insult something dangerous? The girl didn't react to any of it. When the shielded doors parted, she stepped inside as if this happened to her every day. The red warnings flickered out the moment she passed, but the shock lingered on everyone's faces long after she disappeared into the academy. As soon as she was out of sight, whispers exploded through the crowd. Are humans really that dangerous? I heard they don't need implants, they just adapt. My brother told me Earthborn can survive vacuum exposure. No way. They're extinct. They have to be. Rumors multiplied with every breath. A sharp blast from an instructor's whistle finally shattered the chaos. Officers forced cadets to stand at attention, but their eyes kept drifting toward the door the strange girl had walked through. None of them wanted to admit it, but something about her presence shook them. Inside the academy, she walked down long metallic corridors lined with posters of legendary graduates. Other recruits stepped aside when they saw her, uncertain whether to fear her or pretend not to notice. Her quiet footsteps echoed softly as she approached the registration desk. The officer stationed there, a tall insectoid creature with gleaming purple eyes, tensed as she approached. He scanned her badge, but the device emitted a jarring buzz and flashed an error. He frowned, scanned again, same result. Your file, his voice faltered. It's locked. It's supposed to be, she replied calmly. The officer hesitated. Then I'll need your verbal authorization code. She leaned forward slightly and spoke softly. The audio didn't carry far, but whatever she said made the terminal freeze for 3 seconds before unlocking with a metallic click. The officer stared at his screen in disbelief. The clearance level displayed wasn't just restricted, it was sealed behind a classification he had never seen before. I see. You're approved. Proceed to the evaluation chamber. She nodded once and moved on. As she walked away, 2 senior instructors in command coats approached the desk. One asked sharply, was that the Earthborn that triggered the Protocol 7 alert? The officer nodded nervously. The instructors exchanged uneasy looks. "She shouldn't be here," one muttered. "That decision wasn't ours," the other answered. "We were ordered to evaluate her." "Evaluate," the first scoffed. "We don't even know if she's stable." "Protocol 7 isn't aggression-based," the other reminded him. "It's uncertainty-based. Unknown potential." Neither seemed reassured. Meanwhile, the girl reached the massive circular evaluation arena. Transparent shielding lined the perimeter, and seating for observers stretched around the sides. Cadets pressed against the glass as she entered the center of the arena, whispering urgently, "That's her. The Earthborn. Do you think they'll test her differently? Should they even test her at all?" She ignored all of it, stepping calmly to the center. An automated voice echoed across the chamber, metallic and emotionless. "Candidate, begin entry assessment." Panels in the floor slid open, revealing several testing devices. The first object rose, a gleaming weighted sphere, half the size of a cadet. This test measured raw strength, designed to be challenging even for enhanced species. Cadets watched with anticipation, some expecting her to fail. She placed her palms on the sphere. She lifted it smoothly. No strain. No trembling. Not even a shift in her breathing. One of the onlookers choked. "That weighs more than a hover cycle." Another stammered, "How is she doing that without augments?" The instructors exchanged uneasy glances. The next test began. Dozens of drones burst from hidden compartments, darting through the air in unpredictable zigzags. They fired harmless but fast stinger pulses to measure reflexes. Most recruits would flinch, jump, or panic. The girl merely shifted her weight. Just barely. Just perfectly. Each drone fired at where she once was, not where she moved. Her motions were quiet, minimal, almost lazy. Yet not a single pulse touched her. The whispering behind the glass intensified. Next, the pressure cube rose from its housing. The cube measured internal force output. Most recruits barely activated it at all. She placed her palm on its surface, and the colors cycled rapidly from green to yellow to orange. A hum filled the room. The cube vibrated violently. Then it cracked straight down the center with a loud metallic snap. Cadets gasped. An instructor swore under his breath. Finally came the cognitive disc, a thin metallic circular device designed to test neural stability and emotional regulation. When she picked it up, the disc flickered blue, then brightened until it glowed white-hot. The metal vibrated faster and faster, then dissolved into drifting particles. The room fell completely still. She placed what was left of the disc gently on the platform and stepped back. "That concludes your evaluation," the instructor announced, though his voice trembled. She turned and walked out. This time, no one whispered. No one laughed. No one even moved. They watched her go with a mixture of fear, fascination, and something deeper, something like awe. And in a hidden monitoring room deep beneath the arena, two figures watched her on a holographic display. One leaned back slowly. "She's stronger than predicted." The other's expression remained unreadable. "She's not using her full capability." "How do you know?" Because if she were, the figure's eyes narrowed. The academy would already be gone. The academy's central tower loomed overhead like a blade splitting the sky, its mirrored surface glinting with light from 3 distant suns. But inside Lecture Hall 11, everything was dim, cold, and silent. Hundreds of cadets sat in ascending rows, murmuring anxiously as instructors whispered among themselves on the lower floor. Every few seconds, one of them would glance toward the entrance, not at the door, but at the long glass panel beside it, where a red warning strip still pulsed softly. Earthborn candidate present. Limited engagement. Protocol 7. The lights dimmed further as Commander Raylis stepped onto the stage, broad-shouldered, scarred, and radiating the kind of authority that came from surviving more battlefields than he cared to count. His gaze swept across the room like a searchlight. "You are here," he began, voice booming, "because this academy is not a school. It is a crucible, a place where weakness burns away and only strength remains." Cadets straightened. Even the rebellious ones fell silent. But today, Raylis continued. The crucible is being tested. His eyes flicked toward the entrance. And so are all of you. The door slid open with a hiss. She walked in. The room went completely still. No armor. No enhancements. No squad. Just those same simple clothes and an unreadable expression. She took a seat near the center, as if she belonged there. As if she didn't notice the way every cadet on her left and right leaned away from her like she carried a plague. Raylis clasped his hands behind his back. You have all heard the rumors by now. Let me confirm them. A nervous wave passed through the hall. She is Earthborn. Gasps. A few cadets whispered harshly. But you. Why would the Federation? Earthborn aren't supposed to leave the system. Raylis slammed his fist into the podium. Silence. The echo rattled through the metal chamber. You will not question Federation decisions. And you will not question my authority. He pointed to the girl. She has been accepted into this academy. That means she holds the same rank as every one of you. You will respect that. No one dared argue. Raylis pressed his palm against the podium, and the room darkened as a massive hologram flared to life behind him, the image of a swirling nebula, stars drifting like embers within it. This, he said, is what you are fighting to defend. The hologram expanded, showing planets, stations, and fleets. This, he continued, is the cost of failure. The image shattered into scenes of battle, ships exploding, colonies burning, soldiers in exo-armor sprinting through ruined streets. Cadets shifted uncomfortably. Raylis turned toward the girl again. And this candidate will face a unique path. A new hologram blinked to life. Her name, still censored, along with a long string of restrictions and sealed symbols. Even Raylis frowned at the list. Your file, he said slowly, is classified above my clearance. That alone makes you an anomaly. But your abilities, he hesitated, choosing his words with rare caution. Your abilities challenge everything we understand about biology. A drone floated forward carrying a small orb. Raylis tapped it, projecting a detailed image of the strength sphere she had lifted earlier. This weighs 900 kilograms. Most cybernetic cadets lift it with strain. You lifted it with no visible exertion. Whispers rose again. And your reflex readings, another screen appeared, timelines, neural spikes, drone trajectories. You weren't dodging. You were moving before the drones fired, as if you predicted them. Raylis narrowed his eyes. I don't know if that terrifies me or impresses me. The girl didn't respond. She sat completely still, eyes fixed forward. Raylis dismissed the holograms. Now, your first group assignment. The cadets straightened, excited and nervous. You will form squads of 4. Your evaluation begins tonight. He paused. She will be assigned to a squad as well. Half the room went pale. Raylis lifted a data pad and read the names. Squad 7, Taro Vex, Nyla Corvin, Jax Helrin. He looked up. And Earthborn candidate. A ripple of whispers spread through the hall, some fearful, some angry, some curious. Taro Vex, tall with dark blue skin and cybernetic implants running down his arms, looked horrified. Nyla Corvin, short and sharp-eyed with orange irises, stared at the girl like she was analyzing a rare weapon. Jax Helrin, muscular and reckless, slammed his fist against his chair. We're being punished, he growled. This isn't a squad. This is an execution order. Raylis' voice cut through the tension. You don't choose your squad. War doesn't ask for your approval. He dismissed the class. Cadets rushed out in clusters, whispering animatedly. But Taro, Nyla, and Jack stayed where they were because the girls stood up and walked toward them. Taro stiffened. Nyla raised an eyebrow. Jax glared. She stopped in front of them. We are Squad 7, she asked calmly. Nyla studied her like she was a puzzle. Correct. Taro swallowed. Welcome, I guess. Jax crossed his arms. Don't pretend we're happy about this. The girl didn't react. The assignment begins tonight. We should prepare. Jax leaned forward, trying to intimidate her. Look, Earthborn. Or whatever you are. You stay out of my way. I stay out of yours. Understood. She looked at him with no fear, no emotion. Understood, she said. But Nyla noticed something the others didn't. Because when the girl walked past them, Jax, the strongest of the trio, actually took a step back. Not because she threatened him, not because she glared at him, but because in that brief moment, he felt something. A pressure. A presence. A silent warning he couldn't explain. Nyla watched the girl's retreating figure and whispered, "She isn't dangerous because she wants to be." Taro frowned. Then why is she? Nyla's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Because whatever she is, she didn't come here to learn. She folded her arms slowly. She came here because something is coming, and she's the only one who already knows what it is. Night fell quickly over the academy, shadows stretching across the courtyard as the moons drifted into view. The temperature dropped, and thin trails of mist gathered along the metal walkways. Cadets hurried toward the transport pads, rifles powered down, suits sealed, helmets clipped to their belts. A deep horn sounded, low and resonant, echoing across the training grounds. Evaluation Phase 1. Simulation Arena active. Taro, Nyla, and Jax stood on Platform C, shifting nervously as other squads formed around them. They wore their standard-issue tactical suits, glowing faintly with tracking lines and biometric seals. The girl joined them silently. She wasn't wearing a tactical suit, just her same simple clothes. Jax threw up his hands. Of course, she doesn't follow protocol. Why am I even surprised? Nyla's gaze remained fixed on the girl. She's not equipped for a simulation. How is she going to survive a combat scenario in that outfit? She doesn't need gear, Taro muttered, voice trembling. Did you see what she did earlier? I doubt the environment can even scratch her. Jax snorted. Maybe she's not allowed to use academy tech. They don't want her interfacing with the systems. Earthborn restrictions. Nyla didn't respond. She was watching something else. The girl stood perfectly still, eyes slightly unfocused, like she wasn't looking at the arena, but through it. Commander Raylis' voice boomed from above. Cadets. Tonight, you enter the Nexus Field, a multi-environment combat simulation designed to test coordination, adaptability, and unity. He paused. Victory is not expected, but survival is recommended. Many cadets laughed nervously. Raylis didn't. This evaluation will determine your starting placement for the cycle. Weakness will be noted. Cowardice will be recorded. Holographic screens lit up around the arena, showing maps of terrains, frozen wastelands, dense jungles, abandoned colonies, asteroid caverns. Simulations refreshed every second. Jax shook his head. This is insane. They usually start us with basic squad drills, not the Nexus Field. Raylis doesn't want basic tonight, Nyla said quietly. Not with her here. Before Jax could respond, the platform shifted beneath their feet, mechanical locks snapping into place. A warning flare lit the edges of the arena. Squad 7, Raylis announced, his voice echoing directly above them. You are assigned to Zone Delta. Taro paled. Zone Delta? That's one of the hardest maps, Nyla finished. Jax cursed. We're being tested. No, she's being tested. And we're just collateral. The artificial gravity trembled. Metal slid open beneath their feet. And then, the platform dropped. They fell through a column of blinding light. Wind roared around them. Colors twisted and warped like liquid paint. The sound of rushing air transformed into a deep, distorted hum. Then everything slammed into stillness. They landed hard, on cracked stone and shifting dust. A barren landscape stretched around them. Jagged cliffs, shattered ruins, black sand that reflected the moonlight like glass. A dead world, hollow and silent. The simulation had begun. Taro gasped. We made it alive. Jax stood up, stretching. Good. Let's figure out where the exit is. Nyla scanned the area. The extraction point is never visible from the drop zone. We need elevation. She turned to the girl. We'll take the ridge, Nyla ordered. Stay close. The girl nodded once. They began moving. Jax kept throwing suspicious glances over his shoulder. Taro walked faster when she got too close. Nyla, however, kept her attention on the terrain because something about this map felt wrong. The air shimmered faintly. The cliffs looked unstable. The ruins felt half gone, like ghosts cut from stone. This environment is glitching, Nyla said under her breath. The rendering isn't stable. It's a training arena, Jack said. Maybe they upgraded it. No, Nyla whispered. Someone is altering it manually. Before Jax could argue, a distant rumble shook the ground. A second rumble followed. Then a third. Taro froze. Oh no. Oh no no no. Jax lifted his rifle. What now? The cliffs split open. From the fissures emerged towering figures of stone, 6 meters tall, jagged limbs pulsing with red cracks. Their eyes ignited as they turned toward the squad. Golems. Dozens of them. Jax's jaw dropped. This isn't level 1. Golems don't spawn in cadet simulations. They do, Nyla said shakily, but only in the elite officer trials. They're not supposed to attack rookies. Taro yelled. But the golems were already moving, heavy, unstoppable, each step shaking the world like a slow heartbeat. Nyla raised her weapon. Spread and circle. Take them from the flanks. Jax fired the first shot. The energy bolt hit a golem's shoulder and did absolutely nothing. Taro tried blasting a leg joint. The stone cracked, then instantly reformed. They're self-healing, Nyla gasped. Who programmed this? The girl stepped forward. Calm. Unhurried. As if she'd been waiting. She approached the nearest golem, raising a hand. Taro. Nyla snapped. Pull her back. She'll get crushed. Before she could finish, the golem swung its colossal arm toward the girl, enough force to flatten an armored mech. The blow hit her square in the chest. Jack shouted. No! Dust exploded everywhere. A shockwave rippled outward. For several long seconds, no one moved. Then the dust thinned, and they saw her, standing upright, unbroken, unmoved. The golem's massive stone arm had cracked on impact. A fracture spread across its limb. Red energy flickered unnaturally inside its core. The girl placed her palm against the cracked stone. The golem froze. Then, in absolute silence, it shattered into 1,000 shards. Jax took a step back. That isn't possible. Taro was speechless. Nyla studied her intensely. She didn't hit it. She didn't overload it. She didn't even use energy. She just touched it. The other golems roared, rushing toward them. The girl exhaled softly. She stepped forward, vector fast, not superhuman, but inevitable, and every golem that came within reach collapsed like fragile pottery under her fingertips. The ground became littered with broken stone. And she stopped moving. No theatrics. No strain. She simply destroyed what should have been impossible. When the last golem fell, silence returned to the simulation. Jax stared at her with new fear. Taro whispered, "What are you?" Nyla didn't ask. She watched the girl carefully, not with fear, but deep, calculating curiosity. The girl looked at them. "We should keep moving," she said quietly. "There are more coming." "More?" Jack shouted. "More." The girl nodded slowly. "This simulation was altered for me." Taro trembled. "Altered by who? Why?" "By the same people who brought me here," she answered. Her eyes lifted toward the dark sky, the simulated stars glitching faintly like broken code. "And by the thing they're preparing me to face." Nyla stepped closer, voice low. "What is coming?" The girl looked at her, and for the first time since arriving at the academy, there was an emotion behind her eyes. Not fear. Recognition. "The darkness returning from the outer spiral," she said. "The one the Federation tried to bury." A distant howl echoed across the barren landscape. Long, deep, unnatural. Taro clutched his rifle. What was that? The girl turned her head slightly, listening. "They're here," she whispered. Nyla swallowed. "Who?" The girl's voice was calm, but it carried something ancient, something that didn't belong in a rookie's throat. "The ones who destroyed Earth." The howl faded into the wind, echoing off the fractured cliffs until it was swallowed by the dead silence of the simulation. Jax's grip tightened around his rifle. "That wasn't a golem," he whispered. Nira took a step closer to the girl. "You said they destroyed Earth. Who are they?" The girl didn't answer immediately. She stared into the darkness beyond the ruins, as if something waited there, something vast and patient. When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter than before, almost reluctant. "They're called the Hollow Ones." Taro shivered. "I've never heard of them." "You wouldn't," she replied. The Federation erased every record. Jax scoffed, trying to mask his worry. Why would they erase a threat instead of telling people about it? "They weren't erased to protect the public," she answered, still staring ahead. "They were erased because no one survived long enough to explain them." A low thrum vibrated through the ground. Nira immediately raised her weapon. Movement. East Ridge. Simulated dust swirled. The horizon flickered like a glitching hologram. Something large, no, many somethings moved through the distortion, silhouettes shifting like shadows spilling out of the cracks in reality. Jax whispered, "Is this part of the exam or part of your Earthborn nightmare?" The girl didn't turn. "This isn't a test." A second thrum vibrated, stronger this time. Taro's knees nearly buckled. Jax snapped, "Can we get a straight explanation?" "What are the Hollow Ones?" The girl finally turned to face her squad. "When Earth fell," she said, "we weren't destroyed by invaders or monsters. We were erased by echoes." Nira frowned. "Echoes. Entities made of absence," she explained. "They have no form until they touch a living mind. When they do, the mind gives them shape, strength, purpose." Jax's expression darkened. "You're saying they're illusions?" "No." She looked at the shifting darkness approaching. "They're worse." The ridgeline cracked open with a sound like tearing metal. Something crawled out, long-limbed, angular, its shape constantly distorting like smoke trapped in bone. It looked half-formed, half-wrong, as if reality could barely contain it. Another one followed. Then another. And another. Soon the entire ridge was crawling with them. Twisted shadows with glowing pits where eyes should be, shifting shapes that tried to mimic humanoid figures and failed. Taro staggered backward. "We are not equipped for this. This is impossible." Nira aimed, finger trembling. Commander Raylis should have pulled the plug on this simulation already. Why isn't he stopping it? Jax gritted his teeth. "Because he can't. Someone hijacked the arena." The girl nodded. "Someone who wants me to face them." Nira turned sharply. "Why? Why bring them here?" "Because the Hollow Ones are coming back," the girl answered softly. "And the Federation knows it." A sharp, metallic cry tore through the air, sharp enough to rattle their teeth. One of the Hollow Ones lunged down the cliff, its limbs elongating unnaturally as it dropped. Jax fired. The bolt passed through its body, fizzing like light hitting water. "It didn't hit," he shouted. "The shot went straight through." "It has no mass," the girl said. "Not yet." The Hollow One slammed into the ground. Reality bent around it, stone twisting, sand rising, air vibrating. Nira fired next. The shot grazed the creature and dissipated into a shower of sparks. "Nothing works," she whispered. "It will," the girl said, stepping forward. "But only when it chooses a shape." The Hollow One screeched and lunged at her, claws forming from ripples of shadow. It moved erratically, flickering like a corrupted frame of footage. Taro screamed, "Move." She didn't. The creature struck, its arms slicing straight toward her throat. And at the last possible moment, she raised her hand and touched it. Just one finger. The world slowed. The creature froze in place, its body shuddering violently as if struck by an invisible force. The shadows around it behaved like liquid caught in a gravitational pull, swirling inwards, compressing around her hand. The air snapped, and the creature folded into itself, disintegrating like a collapsing star. Dust. Silence. Jax's breath hitched. How are you doing that?" She lowered her hand slowly. Because I've seen them before. Nyla stepped in front of her, voice firm but shaking. Earthborn or not, you need to explain. Now. The girl hesitated. Then she spoke a truth none of them were ready to hear. I'm not from Earth. The squad froze. She continued. I was born in the containment zone the Federation built after Earth fell. They sealed the ruins, hid the truth, and created the Earthborn protocols to keep people like me isolated. Taro stared, horrified. Why isolate you? Because something changed in us, she whispered. Something the Hollow Ones left behind. Jax stepped back. You're infected. No. Not infected. She looked at her hand. The same hand that destroyed the golem, that collapsed the Hollow One. Transformed. Nyla swallowed hard. Into what? The girl looked toward the ridge, where the rest of the Hollow Ones slowly descended, dozens moving like a single organism. Her voice was barely audible over their screeching. The only thing that can kill them. The ground shook violently. The ruins around them cracked. The sky fractured like glass as more Hollow Ones emerged, hundreds now, converging toward them. Taro screamed, We need to run. Jax raised his rifle uselessly. There's nowhere to run. Nyla turned to the girl, desperate. What do we do? The girl stepped forward. We fight. Jax shouted, There are too many. Not for long, she said. Nyla grabbed her shoulder. How do we survive this? The girl turned to her, eyes glowing faintly, an unnatural white light flickering behind her pupils. You don't survive, she said calmly. We win. She stepped into the dust. The Hollow Ones surged forward, and reality shattered around her. The air snapped like a whip as the first wave of Hollow Ones lunged forward, their bodies flickering in and out of shape, claws expanding, limbs twisting, faces forming and melting in the same instant. Their shrieks were distorted, layered, like hundreds of voices echoing from inside a single throat. Jax braced his rifle even though he knew it was useless. Taro stumbled backward, nearly tripping over shattered stone. Nyla steadied herself, watching the girl step past them into the open dust field. She moved slowly, almost gently, not like a soldier, not like a fighter, more like someone returning to the one thing they feared most, yet knew better than anyone alive. The first Hollow One reached her, its form stabilizing just enough to manifest jagged bone. It raised a blade-like limb. The girl vanished. Or rather, she moved faster than their eyes could track, a blur that bent light like heat rising from metal. She reappeared behind the creature. Her palm brushed its spine. The Hollow One detonated into dust. Jax whispered, That wasn't speed. That was... What the hell was that? Nyla didn't blink. It wasn't speed. It was displacement. She shifted space. Her voice dropped. Or space shifted for her. Another Hollow One charged. She stepped aside by inches, barely moving, yet the creature's blow missed by meters, as if reality had misaligned around her. It stumbled, distorted, and she tapped its shoulder. Collapse. Dust. Silence. But this time the dust didn't fall. It rose into the air, spiraling into her hand like smoke pulled toward a flame. Taro screamed, It's going into her. What is she doing? She closed her eyes briefly, absorbing something, sharpening something, calling something. When she opened them again, her irises glowed brighter, white burning at the edges like cracks in porcelain. More Hollow Ones descended from the ridge, shifting and merging, forming larger abominations, limbs stretching into sides, jaws widening into impossible shapes. They screeched in unison, a sound that warped the very air. The girl raised her hand, and the dust she'd absorbed ignited like a small star. The Hollow Ones recoiled. Jax's breath caught. They're afraid of her. I don't think they're afraid, Nyla said quietly. I think they're recognizing her. The girl took a step forward. Everything went silent. Then the world broke. Not metaphorically. Literally. The ground split like paper tearing in half. The sky fractured, pixels scattering. Structures collapsed into floating shards, as if the simulation's code was being rewritten or devoured by the presence of the Hollow Ones. Taro clutched his head. The whole arena is destabilizing. We'll be crushed when this collapses. Nyla snapped to attention. Jack's defensive posture. Taro, stay behind me. But the girl didn't turn toward them. She stared upward. Above them, the simulated sky peeled open like a curtain. Beyond it wasn't machinery, wasn't circuitry, wasn't systems. It was darkness. Infinite, pulsing darkness that felt alive. Jax gasped, that's not simulation code. What is that? The girl whispered. A breach. Nyla's eyes widened. A real breach? An outer spiral tear? Here. At the academy, the sky convulsed. Something massive pressed against it from the outside, the silhouette of a colossal shape, undulating with slow, deliberate motion. Its presence distorted gravity itself. The Hollow Ones shrieked, vibrating in resonance with the thing above, as if answering a call. Taro cried, "We need to get out of here now." The girl turned to them, calmly raising a single finger. "Don't move." The ground convulsed violently. Cracks opened beneath their feet. Jax grabbed Taro before he slipped into one. "Tell us what's happening." Jax roared. The girl stared at the sky. "They're not part of the simulation anymore," she said. "They came through the tear." Nyla's voice dropped to a whisper. "You mean the Hollow Ones just invaded the academy?" "No," the girl said quietly. "They invaded me." A Hollow One materialized directly behind her, claws raised. Jax shouted, "Behind you." She didn't turn. Her shadow turned. It stretched, elongated, lifted, becoming a second shape. A mirror of her. A dark silhouette, human in form but flickering like a glitch. It intercepted the creature, dragged it down, crushed it into dust. And then the shadow reformed behind her like nothing had happened. Taro collapsed to his knees. She has a shadow construct, but that's not possible. Shadows don't. Nyla stepped back. Shadows don't act independently. Ever. Not unless. She didn't finish the sentence. Because the girl finally turned toward them, her expression unreadable. "This isn't a simulation anymore," she said. "The breach connects directly to the outer spiral. If we don't seal it, the Hollow Ones will consume the entire academy." Jax looked up at the writhing darkness overhead. "How do we seal that?" "That's not a door. That's a nightmare chewing through the sky." The girl raised her hand again. The dust, the energy, the light, they swirled around her like orbiting particles. "I can seal it," she said. Nyla stepped toward her. "You'll die if you try." "No," the girl replied. "I'll change." Her voice deepened, layered with something ancient. Like before. Jax grabbed her arm. "What happened before? What are you not telling us?" She looked at him. "When Earth fell," she whispered, "I survived by becoming what they feared most." The shadow behind her flickered, growing larger, sharper, more defined. Taro's voice trembled. "What did you become?" She looked up at the massive void overhead. Their echo. The Hollow Ones shrieked in unison. The sky tore completely open. The breach exploded. A flood of darkness spilled downward. The girls stepped forward, and the world around them shattered into white light. The silence that followed was nothing like the heavy, contemptuous quiet that usually filled the academy halls. This time it vibrated, alive, electric, as if the station itself was holding its breath. Nira stood in the middle of the command briefing sphere, the giant hollow table flickering beneath her palms. Across from her, Instructor Varric wore an expression that didn't fit his face. Uncertainty. Maybe even fear. Around them, elite cadets watched from the tiered seats, the same cadets who once laughed when the scanner flashed red over Nira's name. Now none of them seemed eager to meet her eyes. "The Dominion is mobilizing," Varric said at last. His voice echoed across the room. "We intercepted a classified transmission. They think there's a sleeper threat inside the core academy." His gaze locked onto Nira. "They mean you, Earthborn." A ripple of whispers spread like wildfire. Nira's fists tightened, but she forced her breathing to stay steady. What do they believe I am? Varric hesitated, then activated the hollow. A massive structure appeared above the table, ancient, jagged, pulsing with an unnatural energy. It wasn't a station. It wasn't a ship. It was something older, something that didn't belong in any era of any known species. The Dominion retrieved these scans from an uncharted region beyond the Perseid Belt, Varric said. They think it's human in origin. Nira stared. The structure, whatever it was, felt familiar. Not visually, but deeper. On a level she didn't understand. They call it, Varric swallowed, the Echo Monolith. Gasps filled the room. Someone from the balcony whispered, but humanity didn't have deep space travel back then. Then who built it? Another murmured. Nira's heart hammered. Images flickered through her mind. Shadows, silhouettes, machinery far beyond anything humans had ever been recorded building. But none of it felt like memory. It felt like a dream. Or something older than dreaming. Varric continued. The Dominion's intelligence division believes the monolith is a human relic. That someone somehow hid our true technological past. And I'm connected to it? Nira asked softly. More than connected. He tapped again. Another hollow appeared, this time of a symbol etched into the monolith surface. A spiraling pattern. One she had seen before, on the medallion her mother had never let her touch. Nira stumbled back a step. Cadets leaned forward, breathless. Varric's voice dropped. Your genetic scan didn't just register Earthborn. It triggered a secondary protocol in the Dominion's ancient archive. Something dormant for thousands of cycles. He placed a hand on the console. It marked you as a reclaimer. The room erupted. What does that even mean? Are humans some kind of lost empire? She could be dangerous. She could be important. Nira didn't hear any of them. Her pulse roared in her ears. The spiral symbol shone in front of her, rotating slowly, mocking her confusion. Instructor, she forced out. What is a reclaimer? Varric didn't answer. He couldn't, because at that moment, the bulkhead doors slammed open so hard the metal whined. A squad of Dominion enforcers marched in, armor polished obsidian, visors glowing crimson. At their center stood a woman draped in cobalt robes, her expression carved from stone. High Chancellor Varys, the second most powerful individual in the Dominion. Every cadet snapped to attention. She walked straight up to the hollow table, eyes locked onto Nira. Earthborn Nira hail, she said, her voice cold enough to frost metal. By direct order of the Dominion Council, you are to be taken for containment and classified interrogation. Nira froze. Varric stepped between them. Chancellor, she's a cadet, under Academy protection. She is a threat, Varys countered. A genetic anomaly linked to artifacts older than our Dominion. We will not risk the galaxy on the unmonitored whims of a human child. Nira's jaw tightened. I'm not a threat. No, Varys said. You are an unknown, and that is far more dangerous. Enforcers lifted their weapons. Cadets shifted uneasily. Some looked afraid. Others looked ready to intervene. But none moved. Except one. A lone cadet leapt from the upper tier, boots slamming onto the ground next to Nira. It was Kiri, the same alien girl who once mocked Nira at the gate. Her crest was lowered in defiance, fangs bared. She's one of us now, Kiri growled. Whether you like it or not. A murmur swept the room. Another cadet joined her. Then another. Then an entire squad. Standing with Nira. The Chancellor's gaze hardened. You are obstructing Dominion command. Kiri spat on the floor. We're obstructing stupidity. Varric raised a hand and the lights dimmed as he changed the hollow. New data flooded the air, scans of the monolith, ancient frequencies, genetic overlays. And at the center of it all, Nira's scan. The red Earthborn alert pulsing like a heartbeat. Chancellor, Varric said quietly, you're making a mistake. Whatever is happening, it's bigger than humanity. Bigger than the Dominion. If the monolith is awakening, containment is not an option. Varys didn't blink. It is the only option. Nira stepped forward. Her voice didn't shake. If you take me, she said, you'll lose your chance to understand what the monolith really is. I can feel it waking, calling. I don't know why, but it wants me to find it. Varys studied her. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Not fear. Recognition. You sound like the last Reclaimer, Varys whispered. The room stilled. Nira frowned. The last what? But Varys only turned, signaling her guards. Take her. Weapons powered up. Cadets drew closer around Nira. Varric reached for a concealed switch beneath the console. And then, a low hum filled the chamber. Lights flickered. The walls vibrated. Every hollow went white. Cadets screamed, shielding their eyes. Nira dropped to her knees, clutching her skull as a surge of alien sound, no language, filled her mind. The monolith was speaking, and she understood it. 3 words pulsed like thunder through her consciousness. Reclaimer, awaken, now. The entire academy went dark, and the story changes forever. Darkness swallowed the academy. Not ordinary darkness. This felt alive, as if the shadows were breathing. Cadets stumbled, shouting. Armor plates clattering as enforcers lost formation. Screens crackled, sparking blue light before dying completely. Nira's vision swam. Her pulse raced. The voice still echoed inside her mind. Heavy, ancient, inevitable. Reclaimer, awaken now. She wasn't hearing it. She was remembering it, like an echo from a time she had never lived. Nira. Kiri's claws clamped onto her shoulder, grounding her before she collapsed. Talk to me. What's happening? Nira tried to answer, but words melted on her tongue. Every sound she made came out as a distorted whisper, like she was trying to speak while underwater. The ground trembled again. Then, a beam of silver light erupted from the hollow table, blinding and pure, slicing upward and painting the entire chamber in ghost-white radiance. Shapes swirled within it, symbols, runes, spirals, none belonging to any known species. Several cadets screamed. Enforcers raised shields. Chancellor Varys staggered back, eyes wide. Impossible. Varric stared at the beam in stunned horror. The monolith, it's projecting through her. No, Varys whispered. It is summoning her. The light bent, curving toward Nira like a gravitational pull. And then the academy itself began to change. The walls shimmered, metal turning translucent, showing glimpses of something beyond. Not space, not stars. Vast corridors made of black stone, glowing with spiraling patterns that thrummed at the edge of reality. Kiri shouted over the hum. We need to move her. Now. No, Varys snapped. Nobody moves. Her command was cut short as the floor beneath them shifted, turning into a smooth, obsidian platform. The entire room detached, floating, lifting upward as if the physical world no longer applied. Cadets clung to railings. Enforcers coughed in panic. A siren wailed, glitching between frequencies. The last thing to change was the ceiling. It dissolved, revealing a sky not made of sky at all, but swirling fractal patterns of unknown light, shifting in impossible geometry. Everyone fell silent. Nira stood, and something inside her, something buried so deep she had never felt it before, bloomed awake. Her eyes glowed faintly with pale, white light. Varys drew back sharply. Reclaimer, your kind went extinct thousands of cycles ago. My kind? Nira asked, breath trembling. What kind? Varric forced himself closer. Humans didn't originate where the Dominion thinks. The archives mention a separate lineage, an advanced offshoot. A hidden one. They vanished until now. Nira shook her head. That can't be right. I'm from a farm colony. My mother worked hydroponics. My father repaired drones. Yes, Varys said tightly. And how strange that neither appear in Dominion genetic databases. Even stranger that no record exists of their arrival on any human colony. Nira froze. Kiri's eyes widened. You think her parents weren't human? Varys supplied. They were human, just not from here. Before Nira could speak, the silver beam expanded, surrounding her, lifting her several inches off the platform. Her hair floated, her heartbeat synced with the hum of the monolith. She wasn't afraid anymore. She felt recognized. Varric called out, "Nira, listen to me. You have to take control of it. Whatever is happening, it's reading you like a key." A key. The word resonated. The light intensified, symbols spinning faster and faster around her. The spirals morphed into star maps, coordinates, pathways through unknown regions. One coordinate glowed brightest. "Is that a location?" Kiri shouted. Nira whispered, "It's where I'm supposed to go." The room dropped several meters as the platform jolted violently. Cadets screamed. Enforcers scrambled to stabilize their weapons, which flickered uselessly. Varys yelled, "Break the connection before it takes her." "Are you insane?" Kiri snapped. "It'll tear her apart." But Varys surged forward anyway, trying to reach for Nira. A shockwave blasted outward. Kiri was thrown into a console. Varric slammed against the wall. Enforcers tumbled like loose debris. Only Varys stayed standing, barely, her robes whipping violently in the storm of energy. She reached again. Nira hail, the Chancellor growled against the gale. "You cannot allow the monolith to activate. It will awaken others." Nira's voice echoed with multiple layers, not entirely her own. "I'm not activating it. It's remembering me." The chamber groaned as the spectral architecture above them shifted, revealing another vision. An army of silhouettes made of white fire standing before a colossal monolith. Not organic. Not robotic. Something in between. Cadets watched, petrified. Varric breathed. The Reclaimer Guardians. Varys hissed. Extinct. Lost. Forbidden. "Not extinct," Nira said. "Just sleeping." The beam tightened around her, cocooning her in spiraling light. Then, everything went silent. Utterly, impossibly silent. When the sound returned, it wasn't from the room. It was from everywhere. A single message, echoing across the void. Reclaimer identified. Protocol 1 initiated. Return home. The platform shot downward like a collapsing elevator. Cadets screamed and clung to rails. The Academy reappeared around them with a violent snap, lights flickering back on. Nira dropped to her knees, breath ragged, the silver glow fading. The beam vanished. The room stopped moving. But the entire galaxy had changed. Varys stood tall, expression unreadable. "It's begun," she whispered. "The monolith has awakened, and it has chosen her." Nira pushed herself to her feet. "Chosen me for what?" Varric closed his eyes. "For war," he said. "And for answers the Dominion has spent millennia burying." Everyone went still. Nira looked at them, her classmates, her enemies, her allies, her accusers. Her heart thundered with confusion, fear, and a strange certainty she couldn't explain. The monolith had called. And Nira Hale, Earthborn, the girl mocked at the gate, was the only one in the galaxy who could answer. The Academy felt wrong after the monolith's vision faded. Too small, too fragile, too alive with whispers. The lights faltered again, as if reality hadn't finished stitching itself back together. Nira stood shakily, still feeling the echo of the voice inside her chest. Return home. But where was home, if not Earth? Before anyone could regain their balance, a deep metallic groan rolled through the entire station. Every cadet froze. Panels snapped open. Emergency lights erupted in crimson. A warning blared. Dominion combat fleet entering planetary space. All personnel to lockdown sectors. Kiri hissed through sharp teeth. "They came for you. Fast." Varys didn't deny it. "I sent no call, but they were already waiting." The council feared this day would come. Nira's eyes narrowed. Come for what? For me? Or for whatever they buried? Varys didn't answer. She didn't have to. Through the Academy's vaulted windows, shadows eclipsed the stars, massive Dominion dreadnoughts, each one bristling with weapon arrays. Varric swore under his breath. "We can't let them seize her. If the Dominion gets control of a Reclaimer, they'll weaponize every monolith in existence. Cadets whispered fearfully. Enforcers tightened grips on rifles. Nira forced her shaking legs to move. Then I need to leave. Now. Kiri grabbed Nira's forearm. We're coming with you. You don't even know where I'm going, Nira protested weakly. Kiri smirked. You think that ever stopped me before? But Varric wasn't smiling. You're going to the coordinate the monolith burned into your mind. It's pulling you toward it like gravity. And if you don't reach it first, the Dominion will. The doors blasted open. Enforcers spilled inside. Dozens of them. Helmets glowing blood red. By order of the Dominion Council, the squad captain boomed, the Earthborn will be surrendered immediately. Kiri stepped in front of Nira, claws raised. Several cadets followed. Varric pressed a hidden panel. A section of the wall liquefied, revealing a narrow escape lift. Hurry, he barked. It leads to Docking Wing 7, small crafts only. They can't track you as easily. Nira hesitated. Varric's voice softened. Nira, if you don't go, the Dominion will either cage you or kill you. And both outcomes doom the galaxy. She nodded once. The cadets pushed her toward the hidden lift. Blaster shots rang out behind them as enforcers opened fire. The lift doors sealed just in time. They shot downward. No one spoke. No one breathed. When the doors opened, they were already in the underbelly of the Academy. A shadowed maze of pipes, echoing turbines, coolant rivers, and forgotten maintenance shafts. Kiri led them at a sprint. Dock 7 is this way. Hurry. But Nira slowed. Something was calling her again. Not a voice. A pull. A direction she felt more than understood. Stop, Nira whispered. Kiri skidded to a halt. Nira, this is not the time. It moved, Nira breathed. The monolith's call had shifted. Something's wrong. Varric checked a scanner. His eyebrows shot up. It's broadcasting a beacon. A distress beacon. It never did that before. Chancellor Vari's voice echoed from the shadows behind them. Because the Dominion reached it first. They whirled around just as Varys emerged from the lift shaft. Her guards were nowhere in sight, left behind or lost in the chaos above. She was alone. Her expression carried something new. Not malice. Regret. Nira, Varys said quietly, the monolith was not meant to wake like this. The last time a Reclaimer answered the call, 1,000 worlds fell. Nira stepped forward. What happened to them? To my people? Varys inhaled deeply. You weren't just an empire. You were guardians of something ancient, something dangerous. And when one Reclaimer lost control, she shook her head. The galaxy nearly tore itself apart. Kiri growled. So you wiped them out? No, Varys said. We couldn't. They vanished. Only the monoliths remained. Varric whispered, and now one has awakened. Varys nodded. If the Dominion activates it by force, it will trigger the others. A chain reaction. A war we cannot win. Nira looked toward the hangars. Then help me reach it. Varys hesitated. For the first time since Nira had met her, the Chancellor looked afraid. You don't understand what you are. Nira stepped closer, eyes blazing. Then tell me. Varys swallowed. You're not human in the way you think. Your lineage is from a branch of humanity that ascended far beyond flesh. Reclaimers were designed to interface with monoliths directly. Across minds. Across realities. Nira's breath hitched. Designed by who? By yourselves, Varys whispered. By your ancestors. Silence. Even Kiri froze. Varric murmured, she's a living key. Varys nodded. And the monolith is calling its key home. A violent tremor shook the station. The lights died again. Nira felt the coordinates burn inside her skull. Bright, urgent, pulling. She turned to the escape ships. Kiri grabbed her hand. If you run, we run with you. Varric stepped beside them. The Academy chose you long before any scanner did. Varys looked between them and sighed. Go. Before the Dominion locks orbit. I'll stall their boarding teams. Nira's heart softened. Why help me now? Vari's voice cracked faintly. Because I saw a reclaimer once. As a child. She saved my world when she didn't have to. She touched Nira's shoulder gently. Don't let her legacy end in darkness. Alarm screamed again. The hangar blast doors began to seal. Nira sprinted. They dove into a sleek patrol craft. Varric took the controls. Kiri strapped in weapons. Nira closed her eyes. She didn't need a map. She didn't need charts. The monolith's pull pointed her exactly where she needed to go. She whispered the coordinate. Varric entered it. The engines roared. The Dominion ships outside powered their cannons. And the small craft burst from the hangar, slipping into space just seconds before the blast doors slammed behind them. As the stars stretched into streaks of light, Nira felt the pull grow stronger. The monolith wasn't just calling her. It was pleading. Reclaimer, they are coming. Return before it is too late. The stars twisted into thin streams as the patrol craft tore through hyperspace. Every vibration, every hum of the engines, every tremor felt amplified inside Nira's bones. The monolith's pull had grown stronger, no longer a whisper, but a constant pressure behind her eyes. Like a heartbeat from a gigantic creature waiting in the dark. Kiri clutched the armrests. We're not going to a colony or a known sector. This part of space isn't even charted. Varric didn't look away from the controls. It's older than our maps. Older than the Dominion. Older than anyone wants to admit. Nira stared at the swirling blue tunnel of hyperspace. Then, why do I feel like I've been there before? No one answered. Not because they didn't want to, but because they could feel the truth settling over them like mist. The transmission. The NAV console flickered. A burst of static. Then a voice, broken, distorted, but unmistakably the same ancient tone that had spoken within Nira's mind. Reclaimer, you are late. Kiri shot upright. Nope. Nope. Don't like that. Not at all. The static shifted into a series of symbols, spirals, drawn in light, burning deep into Nira's thoughts. Varric frowned. It's a data packet, but the encoding is impossible. It predates modern computing. Nira pressed her palms to the console. The symbols reorganized themselves instantly, as if reacting to her presence. And then the message unfolded. A holographic figure appeared in the cockpit. Tall. Radiant. Humanoid, but not. Its body shimmered with white fire. A reclaimer. Kiri stopped breathing. Varric nearly dropped his tablet. The figure turned its faceless head toward Nira. You survived. Good. The others feared your line had been lost. Nira's throat tightened. What are you? A memory, it said. An echo of the last Reclaimer Council. A warning for our descendants. Descendants? Kiri whispered. You mean humans? No, the figure corrected. For Reclaimers specifically. Nira stepped closer. Why did you disappear? Why hide from the galaxy? The hologram flickered. When the collapse began, we tried to seal away our greatest creation. The monoliths. Engines of knowledge and destruction. Varric stiffened. Destruction? They were built to protect life, the figure said sadly. But in the wrong hands, they unmake it. A rogue faction tried to claim them for conquest. We stopped them, but at the cost of our empire. Nira's pulse slowed. So, you lost the war? No, the figure whispered. We ended ourselves. To prevent the monoliths from ever being used again. Silence. Then the figure leaned in, its presence glowing brighter. You, Nira Hale, are the last unbroken strand of our line. The final key. If the Dominion reaches the monolith before you do, they will awaken it without guidance. And its power will not distinguish friend from foe. Nira swallowed. What must I do? The hologram dissolved into blinding light. Return home. Restore the seal. The message ended, and hyperspace violently tore open. Arrival. The ship slammed back into real space, so hard the hull groaned. Kiri swore. Varric struggled with stabilizers. Nira staggered forward, gripping the window. What she saw stole her breath. A star system swallowed by shadow. A dead star haloed by rings of debris. And orbiting that dying light, the monolith, a colossal obsidian structure, floating like a shard of a broken god. Far larger than the scans had shown. Miles long, carved with spirals glowing faint blue, pulsing like veins. Kiri whispered, "That thing, it's not a building. It's alive." Varric's hands shook as he scanned it. It's drawing energy from the star. Feeding. Growing. Nira pressed a hand to the glass. Her heartbeat synced with the monolith's pulses. "It's waiting for me." The Dominion arrives. A blinding red flash erupted across space. Then another. Then a third. Varric paled. Jump signatures. Big ones. Dominion dreadnoughts burst from hyperspace, massive, armored, bristling with weapon platforms. Kiri slammed a fist on the console. How in the void did they track us? Nira's voice was quiet. They weren't tracking us. They were tracking the monolith. The largest dreadnought glided into position. At its command deck window stood High Chancellor Varys. Her face was grim. The comms crackled. Her voice filled the cockpit. "Earthborn, stand down. The monolith is too dangerous. We must secure it." Nira stepped forward. "No. I'm going to it." Varys' voice hardened. "You do not understand what it will do." Nira's eyes glowed faintly. "I'm beginning to." Varys exhaled shakily. "Then you know the truth. Your people nearly destroyed the galaxy. I cannot allow you to complete their work." Nira whispered, "I'm not here to control the monolith. I'm here to stop it." Varys froze. Kiri blinked. "Wait, stop it from what?" The monolith pulsed. A wave of dark light rolled across the system. The dying star dimmed. Varric gasped. "It's feeding faster. It's building toward something. A burst. Maybe a system-wide annihilation event." Nira closed her eyes. "I saw in the memory," she said. "The rogue faction tried to use the monoliths as weapons. The council sealed them. But when I awakened the signal," her voice broke. "I broke the seal." The monolith throbbed, louder, hungrier. The Dominion fleet opened fire. Blazing beams crashed against the monolith's surface and bent around it like smoke. "It's adapting," Varric whispered. "Learning. Absorbing." Varys' voice roared across comms. "Nira Hale, stand down, or we will destroy your vessel." Kiri snarled. "She's the only one who can shut it down, you robed maniac." Varric shouted, "We need to go now." The monolith unleashed a shockwave. Dominion ships were flung like toys. Planetoids cracked. Even Nira's craft spun out of control. She grabbed the controls. The monolith's pull was overwhelming now, like gravitational hands gripping the ship. "It wants me inside." "Nira." Kiri reached for her. She squeezed her friend's hand. "I have to do this." The monolith's spirals opened, forming a corridor of shimmering light. A doorway, welcoming her, calling her. The ship drifted toward it like a moth into a storm. Behind them, Varys screamed orders. The Dominion fired every weapon they had. Ahead of them, the monolith opened wider. Nira's voice was barely a whisper. "This is where it ends." The patrol craft crossed the threshold, and the monolith swallowed them whole. The sky above the ruined clearing flickered with burning contrails as Dominion warships descended, sleek, silver blades carving through the clouds with predatory grace. Their engines screamed like 1,000 metallic sirens. Nira stood in the center of the crater, palms trembling, the monolith heart glowing faintly within her chest. The artifact hummed in tune with her pulse, steady, rising, unstoppable. Around her stood the cadets, Terran, Solari, Jex, Andra, each bruised, exhausted, but refusing to run. Terran raised his rifle despite his shaking fingers. We can't fight battleships," he whispered. Nira swallowed hard. "You won't be fighting battleships." Solari nodded firmly. "Because you're here. Because now we know what you are." A new voice echoed from above. "Reclaimer." High Chancellor Velith descended through a shimmering gravity field, her cloak snapping like wings of silver flame. Her eyes, cold, ancient, aware, locked on Nira with equal parts awe and fear. You are the last of your kind, Velith said softly, and the most dangerous. Nira stepped forward, heat radiating off her skin. I didn't choose this. No, Velith replied, but now you must choose what you do with it. The Chancellor extended a hand, not in peace, but in judgment. Come with us. The Dominion will contain you, and humanity will be allowed to continue under supervision. Terran's face twisted. Supervision? You mean slavery. Velith didn't deny it. This is mercy, she said. For you and for the galaxy. Nira felt the heart pulse inside her, every beat echoing with memories not her own. Ancient wars, burning skies, fleets as large as continents, and voices whispering from the depth of time.
Wake. Rise.
Restore. She shook her head.
No.
Not this time. The Chancellor sighed. Then you force my hand. The Dominion fleet opened fire. Bolts of white plasma screamed downward, enough energy to vaporize mountains. Terran yelled. Nira. She didn't run. She raised her arms. And the world changed. A dome of shimmering gold erupted outward like a supernova. Plasma blasts struck the barrier and dissolved into harmless light. The ground rumbled under her feet as the shield expanded farther, swallowing the cadets, the forest, the valley, until the whole horizon blazed gold. Terran stared in disbelief. You're shielding the entire continent. Nira wasn't speaking English anymore. Her voice resonated in a language older than any known civilization. By right of birth and memory, by oath of the makers, I reclaim this world. Velith staggered backward in midair. Impossible. No reclaimer has used planetary-scale energy in over 50 millennia. The heart pulsed again. The shield surged. Dominion ships panicked, engines flaring as they tried to break orbit. But it was too late. Golden tendrils of energy shot upward, brushing the warships with the gentleness of a feather, and tearing their systems apart like tissue paper. One by one, the ships went dark. One by one, they fell. The sky became a burning graveyard of Dominion metal. Silence fell like snowfall. Even the wind seemed afraid to breathe. Terran stared at Nira like she was a living star. Are you still you? Nira turned toward him, her eyes no longer glowing, just tired, warm, human. I'm still me, she said softly. But I'm also everything they erased. The cadets approached slowly, reverently. Solari lowered her head. Then we stand with you. Nira looked to the horizon, where the sun struggled through smoke. I don't know what happens next. Jex laughed breathlessly. You just wiped out a Dominion fleet. I'm pretty sure they'll have a response. She smirked faintly. Yeah, I know. And us. Andra asked. Nira smiled. You're my friends. My crew. If you want to walk away. Terran cut her off with a shove to her shoulder. Too late for that. You saved us. You saved Earth. And now, Solari added, you're going to have to save the rest of the galaxy too. Nira inhaled deeply. The monolith heart pulsed once, quiet and steady. She gazed at the sky, now littered with falling embers of broken warships. Then, I guess we're just getting started. Far above, beyond the ruined Dominion fleet, a distant shadow moved, massive, silent, ancient. Something had awakened, something that had felt her power, something older than the Dominion itself. The heart went still in her chest, and she whispered to no one, "They're coming."